You're slobbering on me. Go, stop.
She's being so helpful. Why, don't complain. She's being an absolute angel.
It's dripping good on me.
She's in an unfamiliar circumstance. There's smelly, farty neighbors next door. You're trying to... She's got her horns caught on that panel. She's trying to understand where that nasty odor comes from. She doesn't remember the pigs.
Hi.
I can't get this camera to work.
Oh.
Tried, I don't know why. Where we're at on the morning of the 16th of April. That was 0.2 of an inch of rain in the rain gauge. That was on top of about 0.3 yesterday, so a 1/2 inch of rain in 2 days when we were predicted only 0.2. Not great. That's on top of a lot of other rain that we had earlier in the week. So everything is really wet and messy, and cows are not happy. Last night after milking, we had to swap around. I'd put Joy in the handling unit yesterday for birth and put the moo call on her tail. We now have Astrid in the handling unit. We moved Joy up to the container, thinking that she was going to calve last night, but we haven't received any data from the Smacks Tech. It's feeling really slow to update at the moment, which is kind of a pain. I don't know. I moved the antenna yesterday. Not quite sure what that's about. Whether it's weather related or Wi-Fi or cell tower signal related, don't know. The cows don't update regularly overnight if they're in the back part of the barn. So that's got to get fixed. Meanwhile, I was worried that Joy wasn't going to get updated up in the container, but it has on a much slower time frame. She had been about 6 hours out. Now she's about 2 hours out with her data. So she'll be up there until she calves. Astrid's going to be in the handling unit because she was running a really borderline high fever, borderline critical fever. We think that the sutures there on her vulva got infected, and that's causing some issues. We'd had her in here a couple days ago, and then we ran her in last night and just decided to isolate her because she's also due to calve in about 5 days. And it looked kind of like yesterday, without knowing that she had a fever, just from the physical signs, that she was actually thinking about calving. So we got those two isolated, and everybody else is just chill. It was wet last night. Babies seem to be handling it okay outside. Not ideal. It's going to get cold again, which sucks. It's probably 10 degrees colder today than it has been, and going towards Thursday today. So on Sunday, it's going to be below freezing at night. So I think the calves are going to have their coats back on. Not ideal. I'm going to have to dig out the medium-sized jackets for the 3, and we're going to wrestle them into them. Anyway, you got to get milking. It is later on Thursday, just going on noon, down here in the forest, trying to get a brush pile together so I can chip, because the cows desperately need more bedding up there. It's been almost a week since I've been down here. I think Saturday was probably the last day I was here, and just chipped a little bit. Thursday was the last real work day I was here, and I wasn't feeling that good. So I feel a lot better. Whatever. Might as well discuss the elephant in the room right now. I think I have Lyme. The doctors don't think I have Lyme, and they're refusing to do the test, the Western blot test, which someone in my position should automatically have, because when Lyme, chronic, deep, long-term Lyme doesn't show up on the other tests, it generally shows up on the Western blot test. So I'm on my, a week into doxycycline, and I feel great, 10,000 times better, more energy, less achy, less stiff. I don't stove up by the middle of the day. So I'll be down here for a while today, I hope. I do have things I have to do up above, and Joy is going to calve sometime today or tomorrow, we think. And Astrid's in the pen because she's not well. So I have things I have to break off and go do in about an hour anyway. But I want to get at least a bucket chip today before I break off and do anything else. I should have, because all this stuff is already, I cut tons of stuff down last time I was here, brush everywhere. And so yeah, got a chip. Yeah, I would love to spend the money and just have another load of sawdust delivered. Can't afford it right now, and I can't afford to burn that when I have so much chipping to do down here. I mean, all of this brushy stuff could be chipped and be perfect up there in the barn for bedding, so I might as well do it. What I'm amazed at, seeing I haven't been down here for many days, and we've had several inches of rain in that time, so it is soaking wet down here, is just how green it is all of a sudden. Places that didn't look like there was grass before are now showing grass. So I need to get out of here before I damage any of the grass any more of the grass that's here. But also I need to get this cleaned up so that I can oversow it. And I've got to get that fence line going. I keep saying this stuff, but time she evaporates. Anywho, back to the Lyme thing. Yeah, so I got the bill yesterday for my doctor's visit. $300. Okay, walk-in clinic. That's pretty good. What I wasn't expecting was the $800 of lab testing that I got to pay for because I no longer have insurance. Thank you, regime. Yeah, we got forced out of Medicaid because, just cause budgets got cut, and we couldn't afford our insurance premium that tripled. And so, yeah, kind of shocked by such a high bill for so little testing when it all came back negative. And I still feel like crap. I mean, I said I feel better because of the doxycycline. Yeah, but I'm still not 100%. And now if they're saying I have no Lyme and they're refusing to do the Western blot test, I'm up against the wall. What is this? What caused this if not Lyme? So anyway, yeah, so that's pissed me off more than a little. Got the cream separator going. Allison just churned yesterday. She churned 8 gallons of cream out of 50 gallons of 8 gallons of cream out of 50 gallons of milk. And that made 22 pounds of butter today, which is awesome. That's good because that was a fast turnaround and everybody wants the butter right now. So well worth, as annoying as it's been, the number of times the cream separator is that the top of that cream separator must weigh 70 pounds. And there's no handholds on it and no easy way to get it in and out and up and the base. And I've had to lift it up and out of the base multiple times. Yesterday, to get it going, worrying about a belt. We don't have the right belt, and I had to have some parts made. I had to rebuild something, and so yeah, that's been a chore. But now that it's going, awesome. We can start making money with it because currently nobody's buying the cheese because the economy's stupid. All right. Anyway, that's not why I'm here to talk to you. I am here to say that. I'm going to mention that word again, regenerative. I have been grazing the cows down here and scattering seeds around now for the last 2 summers after we pulled the pigs out of here. And in the areas where there aren't tons of stone, stuff is starting to grow. Stuff that I planted purposely and stuff that's overwintered. And so already this is looking much better than it did last year. And I didn't show you any of this last year, But I did take some grass measurements down here last year, which is hard because of all the stones, and there's big patches of moss, which I'm hoping to disrupt this year and get more grass growth. But check out what's left behind. All this is little clover. There is mixed in some buttercup, but that'll go away. Old cow pat, more clover. And then here, I've been sowing turnips and radishes. There's turnip coming up that overwintered. And we've got dandelions, which is awesome. Lots more turnip in places. There's actually a baby turnip and greens growing out of it. So there's turnips coming up. Those will continue to grow. Unfortunately, there is a lot of moss. So yeah, in the undisturbed areas, there is going to be some really palatable, delicious feed for them. Unfortunately, there's areas like this where there's nothing growing and nothing right now and just moss and roots. And that is my plan going forward. I mean, something will grow on that when I throw some seed around here when I get a chance. We're going to get 2 nights below freezing coming up at the beginning of the next week. Insane. Cannot sow seeds. I'm glad I haven't sown anything out yet because that level of frost, if they'd started to sprout right now, that level of frost would kill them. So anyway, there's going to be some stuff growing here, which is phenomenal. Better than expected. I was not expecting to see any of the clovers that I've sown, and certainly not, I mean, I just showed you a tiny patch, and I'm looking, you know, there's quite a bit of green growing over there, and we got more back there under the brush. So yeah, there's, in the undisturbed areas, there's a lot of forage for the space. A very stony, slopey field. So I'm feeling a little better, but I am feeling like I'm under a time crunch because I've got a lot of chipping to do. I'm not getting a lot of time to chip. Tomorrow, I'm not going to be working down here like I'd like to. Saturday, we've got the big cleanup day to load up that dumpster. Won't be working down here. I'm hoping to find some time Sunday to come back here because I'll need more chip. I'm hoping I can get 2 buckets of chip today. One to spread in the barn for bedding, and another to store for tomorrow, Friday. And I'm hoping also to pick up some chips, shavings from the tool factory. That's if I can get a load of shavings from the tool factory tomorrow, if they have them, they should. That'll get me through the weekend, plus the chips that I saved for tomorrow. So then Sunday I can chip and stuff. I also need to clean the barn again and scrape it down, but it's so wet. It's actually raining right now, not heavy, but we've got a band about to come through. I'm gonna get soaked. Well, it's warm, but I'm wearing a raincoat. But I don't want to do that cleaning before the rains come with the amount of rain forecast, because that would just swamp out the new chips and they'd be immediately be a waste. I'm going to dump some in the wettest part today, and that should shore it up for the cows to walk through. But I got to solve that issue going forward. It's just, it's so aggravating. If this had been a normal spring so far with moderate rains instead of these heavy rains, we wouldn't have that wet issue right there. It tends to absorb, and then the sunny days and the wind dry it out. But with these inch rainfalls, ½ inch yesterday, or like I said before, when only a couple tenths were predicted. So yeah, we are going to have to start learning how to deal with a lot wetter weather, because as the climate warms up, the atmosphere holds more moisture, which means more rain. So we're basically going to be moving from a temperate zone to a tropical rainforest, I fear. Anyway, going to build these piles and get chipping and get on with my day. Okay. Oh, one bucket chipped. I'm gonna pull together another bucket's worth and see what time we've got by the time I run this back up there. That was, I put together a pile. I've brought the skid steer down. I chipped it. I have no idea what time it is. I didn't look. It's not so much the physical labor of this, it's the uneven ground right now, because all my joints do ache still from whatever this is. Yeah, and also last night trying to collect the 2 heifers in the barn. I torqued my left knee badly, so yeah, uneven ground like this is exhausting. But it's starting to look good. I mean, I know I keep saying I gotta get this over with, and there's a lot of work down here, and time she's a flying, but it is worth doing as best you can to clean up. I still got some things I got to come back and clip with the clippers, get them down, or I'll come back midsummer and chop those with the brush saw when I'm getting any briars that grow up. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of brush that I cut already in this area to pull together for another pile. I got my bucket there, ready to go up in bed for the barn. But I gotta dump that before I can do any more chipping, obviously. I mean, that was a great move to get that bigger bucket. That's 3 times bigger than the bucket, my regular dirt bucket. But I'd actually like one bigger than that. To just be able to fill it and take it up there in one go. I thought about bringing an ICB tote down here and chipping into it, or one of the firewood bags or something, put the forks on, and I just don't know if it's, I guess I could calculate the volume of it. A little harder to get it out of the ICB tote or the bag than the bucket. This is a little bit faster maybe. So as I was just putting the last of the stuff through the chipper and looking and thinking, you know, some of these trees, this yellow birch here has a top blown out of it. This maple here has the top blown out of it. That yellow birch there is leaning and then twists. I'm not going to take those down now because I've got to make move, because I still have fencing and other fields to clear logs and blow trees that blew over in the winter down out of. They don't need near the work of this. And I also want the ground to firm up before I go down there, because I don't want to ruin the forage when I go in there. So, you know, there is some stuff that's going to need to be addressed in here in the future. And I guess that's kind of my point right now is a farm is a system, right? A pasture is a system. So to do regenerative agriculture, if something doesn't work, you have to adjust and adapt and move forward with a different plan. And so my plan right now is to, I think I talked to you about this, sow annuals, summer annuals now, get stuff growing once I get as much clear as I feel I can do. Sun's starting to poke through, that's nice. And then bale graze this in the winter to apply that extra manure and extra organic matter in the leftover tromped in bales. And then next year plant more. Now, there could be more trees that come down next winter. Okay, great. We'll deal with it. But I'm going to try and leave as much behind, even if it's damaged at this point. I may leave some of the dead trees up too that are more sound, just because they are a habitat for the woodpeckers and the birds and the owls. There's definitely that one right there that I'm leaving because there's an owl's nest in it, I think. So it being a system, I'm going to develop this over years now. I'll do what I can this year, look at it at the beginning of next year or the end of this year, grazing season, and see what it takes and where to go. I may need to take out some of these trees that aren't healthy in the future, and then maybe replace them, or maybe do a whole scale section. Like I can see a more, rather than the scattergun approach that I've taken this year to try and, get rid of these pockets of alder and brush and low grade balsams all over the place. Next season, I can take a quarter of this whole pasture and just rework it. Pull down all the dead trees, pull out all everything dying, maybe uproot and take out some standing trees, some living stuff that's not going to thrive, or that's too damaged. The roots, I notice, with the roots being exposed everywhere, a certain amount of damage is going to occur and these trees won't thrive. So going forward in the next few years, some of them may not survive the heat of the summer or, the drought conditions, and then come back in here and plant in a more purposeful manner some tree species that will achieve multiple goals, achieve shade for the summer, for grazing for the cows, but also provide fodder, honey locust, improve honey locusts that don't have the spines, plant fruit trees down here. I mean, they're a little different because you kind of have to fence them out. So, they don't really, I suppose for a few years you could fence them out. But there are some other faster growing trees that could be planted in here that provide food and shelter and shade for the cows. So that's a consideration, to replace some of what I'm leaving behind. If it doesn't go to plan, it's not that I've failed. It's just that I need to adjust how I'm doing and what I'm doing. And that is part of regenerative, that whole concept. And I don't follow regen ag right now. I mean, I've been doing this for 35 plus years, and I think I got a pretty good handle on my version of it, and as a foundation of what it takes. Now, people might say, ooh, you use an awful lot of diesel, and you're using chemical fertilizer. I'm not willy-nilly spreading fertilizer without a plan. It is a tool. I'm not even going to say in the toolbox, because I hate that expression, having just said it. I get manure analysis, I get soil analysis. Our farm currently does not generate enough nitrogen to supply the grass growth that we need out of anything. So that means I have to sow more clover, which I'm happy to see so much clover in here. And elsewhere in my fields, I need to add more clover to the fields. That gives me a better nitrogen benefit without having to spend any money. But until I get there, until I achieve those ends, in order to achieve the grass growth and forage for the cows that we need from unimproved fields that I am slowly improving for the first few years, to get that flywheel up and running, get that clover growing and thriving and fixing nitrogen in the soil, to get all those systems up and running, you do have to use a little diesel wisely, chipping, clearing, not just coming down here and blasting through stuff without some kind of plan. Now, I know it seems like I've done that, but I do have a vision. And I'm not going to, like I said time and money and no constraints. You could clear cut this, get a big grinding machine in here, grind all the stumps, grind the stones down, level out this field, plant some trees in alleyways for forage, for silvapasture. You could put a lot of input into this. That's not regenerative. That's not taking what's here and trying to adapt and change and make it work with the system. So I'm trying to be a productive dairy operation and respect the forest in whatever way I can. Now, this one's damaged, but work within what we have. And so in that case, again, back to the urea, I only put out what I need to fill in the gap between what my the manure from the farm lacks. I'm not just broadcasting blanket coatings of urea or nitrogen. Urea is the really good source, pure source. And I'm not applying the other chemicals in the fertilizer mix because manure should balance that out. I have enough manure of enough of the other components in the manure that just topping up the nitrogen should help. And so that is part of the plan. You get to where you need to be by wisely and cautiously using these other systems and tools from commercial agriculture to blanket say, no, I'm not going to do this or that, does limit you. And in an ideal year, yeah, absolutely 100% organic and all the rest of it is the way I tend to go. But sometimes you have to wisely apply the resources that will do the right thing, especially in the face of a changing climate. I need an increasing amount of forage because it's not a land issue, it's a drought issue. In a good year, we can supply more than enough forage for the farm from our existing fields and how they grow in a normal year. We don't have normal years anymore. Last year wasn't normal. It was a severe, extreme drought, which we're only barely climbing out of right now with this rain we've been getting. The previous year was good, but it had followed a couple of moderate droughts. And so all of that limits the amount of grass this farm grows, because if it's dry, if the soil's dry, if we don't have shade, if it's too hot for the cows to graze. Now I may, speaking of systems and changing, my beautiful big 6-acre pasture up there, which I sometimes take a cut of silage off of, and I would not like to have fencing across it and trees in the way. I may have to say, okay, it is time to plant some shade trees in this field, not only for the sake of the grass and the cows, but trees hold a tremendous amount of moisture. Their roots bind the soil, soak up that moisture from the soil, help dry out the soil, bring it up, hold it in the leaves. The trees expire that moisture from their leaves, forms rain, and the cycle goes on, right? So having trees is a good thing, and I may get extreme enough that I have to not have an open, non-shaded, non-treed 6 acres up there, because the climate is changing. The weather patterns are changing. We're getting wetter springs and winters, drier summers. All that impacts, and we have to have a plan long before it becomes necessary, really. I mean, it's sort of like this Max-Tex bolus system, which I'm obsessed with, obviously. I look at the data multiple times a day for all of the cows. Now, I only have 21 in the system, and only 11 of those are being monitored on a minute-by-minute basis. If you had 100 cows, I would probably go insane from looking at the data all the time. I wouldn't get anything done. But seeing the trends, knowing what's happening at a micro level and deciding and making these pre-planned decisions is a big part of the system. A big part of those charts and graphs is to stop cows from being sick ahead of time, before they become visibly ill, because all the changes happen at a slower, at a incremental rate before that happens. And so same thing with a natural system like this. You see what's going to happen, you try and shape it to where you want it to go. If it doesn't go that way, you modify, you change, you adapt, and it's going to be that way up above. That is one of the reasons, again, why I'm grass measure, and I've got to start my weekly grass walk soon, is to measure the amount of grass we grow across the fields I manage. Most of them. I don't do all the fields, because some of them I can't improve or whatever. Anyway, the fields that I measure, it is to get a growth thing. Now, I'll show you here the chart from last year comparing the year before. Last year wasn't great. We grew more grass the year before. And I was only half-ass measuring the year before. Last year, I made it a point to measure all the time, every week, all the fields. And so there's a bit of that to do starting probably next week, I think. And again, get that baseline. See what the trends are. See where things are going and what we may need to do to adapt. Soapbox stump speech over, whatever. I'm going to gather up the rest of this pile of brush and get those chips up to the barn. I'll tell you this for nothing. 250 years ago, this farm, 255 years ago, this farm was owned by the Sweetland brothers. I think Thomas and Charles. And I'm not doing anything different in this field than they did back then. Clearing it. There's a stone wall that goes all the way down the property line, down through the forest, out that way, probably another 3 acres. I don't know where all these stones came from. They were either buried under topsoil, or there were some fences in here that over the years, some stone fences breaking this area up, that over the years got scattered by skidders and logging efforts or something. I don't know, because the wall there is clearly crumbled and fallen down on either side. It's not a nice, crisp, colonial stone wall like it used to be anymore. But there's a kind of a continuity in that here I am clearing this to make it productive, working in a place that someone did. Now, granted, they didn't have the benefit of a chipper and chainsaws, but this would have been a very much different forest. It would have been old growth. There would have been a lot of bigger trees. They would have, did you know that stone walls always started off as a wooden fence? They started out by cutting and brushing out the line where they wanted the fences to go. And then they cut the trees down on there, and they took a tree like that and made posts out of it, drove 2 posts in, and then stacked trees or split bigger trees, probably balsam pine, split bigger trees in quarters with an adze, L-shaped sharp implement, and a mallet, split those, and then stacked them as split rail fences. And then as they cleared and burnt the rest of because they took, the rule was to heat your house through the winter in Maine, you needed a pile of firewood as big as your house. And you had to have half that pile still by President's Day, I think, or that part of February. Anyway, so yeah, they would have been burning and cutting all of that wood here. The house, our house up there, is built from timbers from this land, big pines, that they hand-hewed here and built timber frame house. And so they were clearing the fields that way and burning and heating their home. And they'd also just burn the slash. I mean, they wouldn't chip. They thought nothing of making big, huge fire piles and burning it. And then spreading that ash out as a lime ingredient. And then making wooden fences. And then as they got to clearing the rocks out of the land, they would use an ox and a stone sled, it's called, just a low scoot, just some boards and a steel thing so that it would ride over the stones. They would roll the stones on there by hand, or sometimes using the oxen, and then a team of oxen would drag them and they would dump them and build the stone walls that way. Just constant effort. It's really amazing to think about that. Here I am with a modern equivalent that burns dino juice and my tractor and stuff. But times they change. 2 other reasons I know this field was cleared at one point and not just a stony wasteland. There are no stumps in this entire 2-acre area bigger than that one. Now, that's not totally disintegrated. So my guess is that tree was cut in the 1990s, when this area was logged. And that is the biggest stump here. So if this was heavily forested in 1990, there'd be a lot more stumps than that. And I know for a fact, and I said this previously, the biggest tree I've cut on the entire farm dated back to 1962. I cut, it was a big pine, and I counted back the growth rings. There's only, there are more of that age, but they're not part of where there was pastures. And I know there was pastures because of the plow pan below. We had the soil scientists come out and analyze compaction, and long before we even started farming here, we did an investigation. And also we know that there were stone fences going down both sides of the farm. If this was clear to the other stone wall, the previous farmers would have used this as one field, you know, full width, property width across. So there's, you know, signs like that mean that at some point this was stumped out and cleared and used, and there are no signs of big trees. So this had been, and also we have a picture from the farmhouse up there all the way to, you see, 1952 I think, or 56. You can see all the way to the river. There's not hardly a tree anywhere. Certainly not any of this forested area standing. And yeah, there's always little clues to how land was used.